Everyone agrees that chicken pot pie is the ultimate comfort food. This easy chicken pot pie will have you going back for seconds. It's addicting. In order to prepare a great double pie crust, I need every bowl and ingredient to be extremely cold. Starting with the bowl I am going to make the pie crust in. This is a medium-sized bowl that I placed in the freezer for 45 minutes to make it super duper cold. This is how I measure flour. I spoon flour into a cup. There's no shaking, there's no packing. Kind of level it like that a little bit. Then get a butter knife and level the top like that. In this medium-sized bowl, I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour that I placed in the freezer for 30 minutes. I also cubed 1 cup of butter, or 2 sticks of butter, or 16 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I am also going to need ice water. Here I have 1 cup of ice water, but I'm not going to use the entire cup. It's just better to have more than not enough. And I'll be spooning the ice water into the dough. So this is how I set it up. First, I'm going to add the flour, cold flour, to the large bowl that is also super cold. I'm going to add the salt to it and whisk it together. Now I'm going to add the super cold butter to the flour and incorporate it into the flour with a pastry cutter. You may pulse these ingredients in a food processor. I cut through the butter enough. See how it resembles coarse cornmeal with a few little chunks of butter in there. That's fine. So if you don't have a pastry cutter or a food processor, you can also use a fork. Just go, cutting through the butter. Or you may even chill your butter in the freezer and then use a grater to grate your butter right into the flour. So now I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of iced water into my dough. Everything has to be done very quickly. The last thing you want is for your dough to get warm, because then it's going to be hard to bite on. It's not going to be good at all. Just keep adding the water. If you're using a food processor, add the water, pulse a few times until it starts to come together. Since I'm doing by hand, because not everyone has a food processor, so I'm just going to add a little bit at a time like this. Now I've added what? 4 tablespoons of ice water. Pretty much just keep adding until your dough comes together. If you're going to make crust for a sweet pie, then add a tablespoon of sugar to it. 1 more and 1 more. So that's a total of 8 tablespoons of water. See if I can bring the dough together with my hands. And I'm going to dump it on my countertop. Bring it together like that. Got into a ball. I cut the ball in half like that. Make 1 ball with 1 and gather the other one also. And now I'm going to flatten it. Set that one aside. Put a little more flour here. Bring the other disc and flatten it as well. Same way. This is going to be for the bottom of the pie. This is going to be for the top. There you go. Can you see the pieces of cold butter on your dough? That's what you want. Gotta work so quickly here. Then I place each disc in a piece of cling wrap. Wrap it up. The second disc, and I'm going to refrigerate the discs for 2 hours before assembling the chicken pot pie. Now I'm going to cook the chicken. In my medium saucepan, I'm going to add 2 cups of low sodium chicken broth. or 1 14-ounce can of low-sodium chicken broth. I'm going to add 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts to the broth, 1 pound of chicken breasts. I trimmed the fat off the breast and rinsed them. Cover, turn the heat on to high, and let it come to a boil. Once the chicken starts boiling, remove the lid, turn the heat down to low, let it come to a simmer, partially cover the pan, and let the chicken cook for 12 minutes. It has been 12 minutes. I'm going to remove the chicken from the broth and place it on a plate. Now I'm going to let them cool. And I'm not going to throw this delicious broth away. It's the flavor base. I'm going to reserve it so I can use it in a gravy later. Now I'm going to start making the filling by heating up my deep saute pan on medium heat. I add 1 tablespoon of salted butter to the pan and let it melt. And cook 1 small yellow onion, finely chopped. I'm going to cook it for 4 minutes or until it's translucent. The onion is translucent, so now I'm going to add 2 stalks of celery, diced, and 2 medium carrots, peeled and diced. Mix it all together. And I don't peel the carrot with a peeler. I always scrape the peel with a knife, the same knife I dice it with. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme. If you don't have fresh thyme, you may use half a teaspoon of dry thyme. The thyme makes a huge difference, so I wouldn't skip it. Cook it for an additional 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, add 3 more tablespoons of salted butter and let it melt with the vegetables. Now I'm going to sprinkle 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour all over the vegetables, like so. And stir to make a roux, coating the vegetables very well with the flour. I'm going to cook the flour and the vegetables for 1 to 2 minutes. Now that I've been cooking the flour for a couple of minutes, I'm going to add 1 cup of whole milk. Also, the reserved chicken broth that has a ton of flavor, the chopped chicken, and 1 cup of frozen peas. And stir it. It's going to be creamy, delicious. There is not much to it. And now I'm going to let it simmer on low heat for 10 minutes. But first, I'm going to taste it and see if it needs salt. It doesn't need too much salt. I'm just going to add a little bit of it. Probably half a teaspoon. Stir and let it simmer. It has been simmering for 5 minutes, so I'm going to stir a little bit and let it simmer for 5 more minutes. It has been simmering for 10 minutes, so I'm going to stir it, turn off the heat, and I'm going to let this mixture cool completely because I'm using a double crust. If you only want to use 1 crust on top, you don't have to let it cool. I'm going to remove it from the heat because I have an electric stove, so it will cool faster. I'm going to bake the chicken pot pie in a 9-inch pie dish. Sprinkle a little flour on the countertop. Here's the disc. I'm going to put a little flour on my rolling pin as well. Open up this disc, bigger than the pie dish. I'm already preheating the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. 400 degrees Fahrenheit is approximately 200 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to transfer it to the pie dish. Flatten the bottom. Remove the excess. And I'm just going to fold it right here a little bit. There you go. This is a little bit of the excess I'm going to add to the other disc. I'm going to add the filling to it that is completely cooled. You can make smaller pies. What you can do, you can get 4 or 5 or 6 little ramekins. They have in 7 ounces, they have 10-ounce ramekins. You can fill those. If you are not going to use a double crust, you can just fill ramekins with the mixture and then just add the top layer of pie crust to it. Then you don't even have to wait for the mixture to cool. You can just put in there straight into the ramekins. Or you can just use a large ramekin and put the entire pie filling in it. Look at that. We're going to have just enough to fill up this 9-inch pie plate. I opened up this second disc. I straightened out the edges, rounded them up a little bit, filled in the parts that were kind of ripped up. And now I'm going to place it on top of the pie. Just like that. So this is how I did this. Put your finger there and like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just go around like that and pinching it. That's all. I have this little heart cookie cutter. I'm just going to cut a little heart in the center. I cut small slits in the center so it'll vent like that. I'm going to make an egg wash with 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of water. Beat it with a fork real quick. Now I'm going to brush the egg wash all over the top of the pie. I'm going to place the chicken pot pie on a foil-lined cookie sheet and bake it at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. I just removed the pie from the oven and it smells incredible. I let it cool almost completely. If you want to use half lard or shortening instead of all butter, it's great too. Now it's time to taste it. Absolutely magnificent. What do you think? Wow, can't wait to try it. This one will definitely have you go back for seconds. Thank you for watching.